Story number 1. My best friend was murdered when I was 7. When I was 7, I met Tommy, and we hit it off straight away like kids do. He was new to school and I was a loner, unpopular with the other kids in class that found me strange. I didn't like socializing with the other kids. I found them annoying. They had stupid conversations about stupid things. Tommy, he was different. He liked science, weird species of animals, and being outside just like me. Me and Tommy used to play together by the marsh near my house every day. He didn't live far from me and his mother didn't really care about him very much. I was secretly glad about this. It meant he had torn, ratty clothes and no money, and the other kids had made fun of him too. This way I didn't have to lose my only friend and go back to being a loner. Our favorite things to do were find frogs, newts, and other weird creatures you could find in the marsh. I was the best at finding frogs. Tommy used to get scared of their slimy skin and wimp out of picking them up. It made me laugh how he'd squirm. My mother used to call us in at 5 for dinner, and then Tommy would walk home about 15 minutes away through the bad part of town. I'll never forget the last day anyone saw Tommy, but Tommy didn't come to dinner that night because I was in trouble for trying to keep a frog in the house. I left him at the marshes, and Tommy never made it home. It had taken a whole night for his mom to even notice he had been gone. Soon the whole town was looking for him. His mother was frequently in local news, crying and begging for someone to find him. It even made national news a few times. Police cars were everywhere for what felt like forever. Flashing lights of cars pulled up by the pavement, questioning neighbors, had become the norm. They questioned me too, of course. I was too young to really understand the gravity of what had been happening, but I knew that the kids at school were even nastier to me than usual because I was the last person to see Tommy alive. It sucked so bad. I was a loner again. No more human contact for me. I told the police that I had left Tommy at the marsh in a rush to get back home by curfew, and that was the last I'd seen of him. They asked me if that was really all I knew about 10,000 times, but it was true. I had nothing else I could tell them. Tommy's case went cold pretty fast. It felt like no one really cared about the poor kid with no one except his weird friend and his useless mom. His mom lost her house eventually and became a regular sight on the local park benches, drinking with other homeless people. People were sad for her, but no one did anything. I suppose that's just how people are. 2 years later, they found his body. Well, what was left of it anyway. It was buried deeper in the marshes than we ever usually went, in a shallow grave. An agricultural student had discovered him while studying native species. It made me smile a little that he had been found for the same reason we were out there in the first place. They examined his body and determined that Tommy had died due to severe beating with a blunt object, probably a rock. His skull was caved in and all of his fingers and toes were broken. They called it a sadistic killing. So much time had passed and so much decomposition had happened that aside from the body, there was no other evidence. Nothing to lead them to any suspects. Tommy's mother died of an overdose not long after his body was found. That was his whole family erased. No one in town spoke about Tommy anymore, and the police gave up looking for his killer just a few months after. It really messed with my head, the whole situation, the loneliness, the exposure to such awful things at such a young age. I never really made another friend after Tommy, and I did a lot of bad things in my life. A lot. It hurt a lot of people and I couldn't really even tell you why. Life went on. After a while I started to forget about Tommy, about his mother and everything that had happened to him. I stopped hearing his fingers crunch when I imagined them being crushed with a rock. Eventually I stabilized and got a job testing biological samples at the hospital. I was reminded of Tommy whilst having a conversation with my mother. It was the whole reason I wanted to share this story. I was having dinner with my parents because even as a 37-year-old man, I had nothing better to do on a Sunday afternoon when my mom brought up my old obsession with frogs. She said she got sick of me trying to sneak them into the house and finding them in various places. I asked her where she had found the one just before Tommy went missing, the whole reason he wasn't allowed to stay over for dinner that day. Her face dropped completely. "I've never told you this, David. You were so young, and after what happened to your friend, it never happened again, so I found no reason to discuss it. The frog I found that week was dead. You'd cut off all of its limbs, that's why you were in so much trouble. Your father and I were worried you were going to turn into a serial killer or something. You were always a cold child." She laughed at the last comment. "We were glad to know you were a biologist in the making." I remember the whole thing vividly. I had never really forgotten, just stopped thinking about it, but I thought it was time to share. I killed a lot of people after Tommy. Not straight after, but when I hit my teens and all throughout my adult life. I enjoyed testing how much pain they could take and cleaning up after myself. But it was never as fun as when I killed Tommy. Nothing was ever as satisfying as the crunching sound his skull made as I pounded it in with the rock. See, I really did like frogs, and I was the best at catching them. As soon as Tommy got good at it, he wasn't so fun anymore. He didn't squirm and I had nothing to laugh at, and he used to say that he was the best at it. It really made me angry. Unexplainable rage. Once it was over, I dragged him deeper into the marsh where no one walked and covered him with leaves and mud before running back to my house before curfew. I've always wanted to hurt someone so bad that they never got back up. Tommy was the first, but he definitely wasn't the last. Story number 2, The Unskippable Ad. It was late at night when it had occurred. I'd been watching YouTube videos all night, avoiding the idea of the awful math homework I knew was waiting in my backpack. Finally at 2 a.m., I decided to get off my ass and do my homework, unplugging my earbuds so I could listen and work at the same time. Now I had no problem with watching ads that are 30 seconds or something. I'm mostly listening to the sound for background noise, and from what I've heard it gives the YouTuber more money. The problem occurred halfway through my homework. "Hello?" I jumped to the sound of the female voice, assuming it was my mom catching me up. Looking around and seeing no one, I directed my focus to the computer screen. The first thing that I saw that I later found weird was the fact that it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds and the ad was unskippable. "Hello?" the woman's voice screamed. The screen was still black. "Listen, I don't know who this is or who this will go to. He left me with a camera, I think, so I'm guessing he wants me to say goodbyes and panic or scream. But I won't. I won't. I'm going to try to save someone's life before I die." I sigh and lean back. Another fucking scary movie? Who the hell was going to pay to see a movie with a black screen? That was when the light turned on and I saw her. Her hair is what shocked me first, or perhaps lack thereof. Her scalp had been taken off, she was bleeding all over and the blood, dried now, had flown all down her face. Her eyes are what caught me too. They were gone, and what replaced them were dark empty holes in her eyes, with blood flowing like tears, and all across her body were deep gashes, bloodied and broken joints, like fingers and toes were just stuck up in ways that they just shouldn't. The room was like an empty warehouse room, and the singular chair that the woman sat in had blood pooled all around it. The ropes that restricted her had been stained red. There was just all you could see was dark crimson. "My name is Denise Morgan. I'm a lawyer. Listen, 1 minute I was in my house with my family. I was working and it was late. I had just tucked my girls in and my sister was visiting. She was asleep downstairs and there was no crash, no nothing. I don't remember anything about the trip here. I don't remember anything. God, my girls." Denise trailed off as she choked on a sob, biting a lip that was bruised and bloodied. I was frozen. No, I won't break," she whispered before continuing. "Listen, I don't know who you are, but you need to leave your home now. He's coming for you. You're going to find this somewhere on the internet. I don't know how, but you will. Mine was on a man screaming for his life that I found posted in my notes, even though I never put it there. I didn't leave, but you can, and you need to." I threw myself out of the shock of the situation. This was fucked up and I was done. This wasn't real. I exited out of my YouTube tab. Silence. That's when a new tab opened and YouTube began to load. Denise began to speak more. "I'm not even sure what I look like anymore. He wanted me to see it first, the torture, but Then he got mad when I kept glaring, so I don't know what he looks like exactly. I guess visuals don't stay long after you've been blinded, but he wore half of an orange mask, like those ones from traveling Halloween stores. From what I remember, it was like he had seared the mask to his skin and he doesn't want anything. I tried to offer him money and anything, and faint footsteps could be heard growing louder in the background. It was then Denise lost all composure. She began screaming and trying to escape from her bonds. I didn't see much. All I saw was a flash of orange and the hole in Denise's body right before she completely fell limp. I'm writing this at a bus station in Canada. I've been traveling for a while, but recently I've been seeing Denise's name appear anywhere on my computer. All of my saved tabs have been changed to Denise Morgan. They all go to the recent articles that starts with "Young and old know that police have been searching." I know he's getting closer. I don't know what to do. My bus is running late. I don't know how much longer I can last. Bethany, honey, if you find this, I love you, sweetheart. Don't forget about your big brother. Mom, I'm sorry about our fight. If I make it out of this alive, I'll move closer to home and help with Beth. I love you. I'm sorry.